The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
Hello, everybody.
And you know what? We're still in the same town. Those who have watched yesterday's podcast, we are actually in the same place. We are in the same geographic area. We're no longer in the same room, however, and that is sad for me.
I have to tell you, feels like we're miles apart.
It's true. It's true.
It's hard to go back to normal.
That's right. When you've touched heaven, Phil, it's it's hard to be okay with the everyday.
True.
Today is Friday, and that means the end of a week brings another viewer mailbag. We have a couple of questions today. Very excited about. They're excellent questions, and Phil, are we boring you?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's very early in the morning for me because I stayed up really late, and I'm yawning, and I apologize because this is a scintillating conversation already, and I can't wait to see what's about to happen.
Nice.
I'm very curious as to know your answers to the films that we're going to talk about,
Sure.
to the questions we're going to talk about, and I'm just, the way you can tell is by how tired I sound and how yawning I am. That should show you how much I care.
I do like the sexy Barry White thing you've got going on. Hey.
I wish my voice sounded like this all the time, actually. By the end of the podcast, I'll be back into my hey, I'm Phil, blah, blah, blah. But now, it's really only a matter of time.
But for now, I'm cool. Okay, so here we go. Question number 1. From Josh. Hello, Josh.
Hello, Josh.
It's not really a question. It's not even a complete sentence, but I'll just read it the way he read it. Scenes with the worst or most jarringly inapt scores. 2 things. He doesn't mean inept. He means inapt. They may be good, they're just not suited to the scene or the movie that they're in. Also, Phil and I conferred beforehand, we're adding soundtracks in because, well, even if it's just for me, because the only answer I came up with immediately, and it's not a score, it's a soundtrack. So, Josh, I'm sorry if that isn't satisfactory to you, but it's not your podcast. Moving on, he gives an example. Like the shark chase scene from Jaws, with the happy, lilting, hey, we're going sailing score. Possibly the only misstep Williams has ever made. I read that sentence because, Josh, it's been lovely having you as a viewer. Please never write in again.
I honestly was going to, I forgot that he said that about Jaws. I was going to say before the Jaws thing, let me just say this to Josh. Josh, I was going to just say, you're on notice. When you write in a question to the mailbag, ask a question. Don't just throw words together and decide that we will answer them. I mean, we are answering it mainly because you're Andy's friend. But if you were like a normal viewer, I'd just be like, delete. Also, he's your friend. Be like a little bit more, come on. Like, what are we doing here?
I know. I've already talked to him. We've actually already talked to him.
But that's all before the Jaws thing. After the Jaws thing, you're dead to us, Josh, and don't write again. Don't listen to us. Don't watch us.
Tell your friends about us still, because we want your friends to be doing better than you.
I kind of feel like anybody who's your friend, anybody that's worth a darn has already left. I don't know, Josh.
Nice. Well played.
I'm not even trying to be mean. It's like I know exactly which part of the score of Jaws he's talking about. And I love it because it's like this moment of, it is like this weird, for a split second, it's one of the only moments in the entire movie where I feel safe.
Yes.
Which there's no reason to feel safe because they're on the water in a boat.
But they're being proactive, and for the rest of the movie,
and it gives the sense of finally, you know.
Yes, yeah.
If you don't like something John Williams has done in any given moment, that's on you, not on him.
Yeah.
It speaks to your defect as a listener, not to his defect as a composer.
He is better at his worst thing than I am at my best thing.
It's true.
You know?
It's true.
It just-
Did you know that his worst thing is bocce ball? He's terrible at it. By the way, he's playing. He's composing. Conducting an orchestra through a bunch of his music, like 10 minutes away from my house sometime this summer or next. I think February. I think tickets go on sale this summer, but I think it's in February. But anyways, I want to go to that.
Unrelated, he looks amazing for being 372 years old.
It's true. It's true. He chose wisely, if you know what I mean.
It's true. So, do you have an answer? You want me to go?
Okay, I have two answers, one which is a good answer and one which is a bad answer.
Give me them. Give them to me.
Actually, I'm embarrassed about both of them because they're both movies that I love.
Okay.
I didn't really like this question, not just because of the way that Josh asked it and not because it wasn't a question. I don't like talking about things that I don't like.
Sure.
I don't like picking apart things that are awesome. And I don't generally watch movies. Like, if I'm watching a movie, I can't remember watching a movie and being like, the score is terrible.
Sure.
I really can't.
Yeah.
I might remember watching a movie and going, the movie is terrible.
Right.
And the score was, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, this movie, first and foremost, I'm going to surprise you here.
Okay.
I don't think the score is bad or even inapt. Okay. But I remember maybe inapt, maybe, but I don't think so. But I remember in Inglourious Bastards when they start to introduce the entire team of the Bastards, and it's got like all of a sudden Sam Jackson's voice comes in, and all of a sudden there's like this score that's like totally hasn't fit in with the rest of the film's tone so far.
Sure.
And I didn't like it. I was like, right. And I love Sam Jackson, but I was like it just felt like it was going to a. What an embarrassing thing for me to do. Luckily, I have no pride. It just all of a sudden went into this different place. Like, it went into this more exploitation film place, and that was what. And I go back to Tarantino. If that's what Tarantino wanted to do, then that was the right thing, and I need to learn how to deal with it. But it was very jarring for me, and still I remember it going like, "Is that really how it should be?"
Interesting.
I love Sam Jackson. I love his narration. I think it's great in that movie. I love the whole movie. I generally am a huge fan of the way Tarantino uses music. Mm-hmm. I guess for some reason it felt a little bit like, he's a bold man with makes bold choices.
Right.
And it can't always be exactly what Uncle Phil wants, you know?
Right. That's right.
So, but that was one thing. The other thing is, and I have never told anyone this before.
Okay.
And I'm slightly embarrassed by it.
I can't wait.
I have been told this is a perfect score. If you asked me to replace it, I wouldn't know how.
Okay.
I have never quite liked the score for The Princess Bride.
Interesting. Okay.
I think it's actually, I do know how I would replace it. Because it's not the tunes that bother me.
Okay.
It's the obviously synthesized music half the time.
Right.
Like when they're going to rescue somebody and like it builds up in suspense, it's just very synthy.
Yes.
And I almost always hate synthesizers.
Me too.
And this is no exception.
I love the main theme to The Princess Bride. Do 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 do.
Right. Yes. Right.
And I wouldn't anyway take exception to that answer, but I certainly won't because, frankly, if I think about the score, that's the only thing that pops into my head, and maybe that's telling, right? maybe I've blocked out the rest of it. I mean,
I always wonder if they did it on purpose, as in the sense of like they're making this movie. Oh, I'm sorry, they're making. Stick it together, Phil. Hold it together. They're making this movie in the 80s. They've got they're making this movie in the 80s. They've got it's kind of the actual fairy tale is being told by the old man. It's kind of unrealistic at all times. It's got a little bit of a stagey feel to it. Mm-hmm. And so this fits in with that, and I think that's probably what they were trying to do. And that's great. I just don't like synthesizer.
Fair.
And it's always kind of bothered me. So I don't, like I said, I'm willing to be wrong about it. I'm just telling you. Especially because, as you mentioned, the actual main theme is really pretty. And you know who composed it, right?
I don't.
It's It's Mark Knopfler, who was the lead singer and guitarist of Dire Straits.
Right. I had heard that. I had absolutely and completely forgotten it, but that is now familiar to me now that you
And
say
the
it.
last thing I want to do is say anything bad about Mark Knopfler.
Indeed. So my answer to this is as I prefaced, it's not a score, it's a soundtrack. There is a movie which you may not have heard of, although it actually got a pretty wide release and is actually a fairly well-known movie, called The Cutting Edge. And it is a romantic comedy set in the world of figure skating with D.B. Sweeney and Maura Kelly.
We were just talking about this movie last night.
Were you really?
Well, no, you were around. We were talking about hockey movies.
That's right.
And someone was like, The Cutting Edge, that's my favorite hockey movie, kind of.
Oh, I didn't hear that. But sure. It is a charming, delightful, it's a frothy little trifle of a movie, and I don't say that in a bad way. It's exactly what it is. It's not a weighty movie, but it is absolutely adorable. It is saddled with a soundtrack that everyone who has ever said anything bad about 80s music or early 90s music, this is what they're talking about. It's got synthesizers in it. It's got this weird, like, bizarre, incongruous melody thing that it trades, like bombast and search for like an interesting hook for any actual musical incoherence.
Right.
It also comes in really loudly at really weird, like they don't like ramp up to full volume as like the training montage starts. It's just like boom, and you're like, oh my God, that's so loud. And this is true even for the songs. A lot of the songs work on their own. I mean, I'm not crazy about synthesizers, as you are not also, but I don't. But like.
But there's also stuff like John Carpenter's use of synthesizers in The Thing and Escape from New York, which are really good.
That's right. And because they fit. And these songs, a lot of these songs are enjoyable listens as songs. But there is, for example, there is a Calypso number on the soundtrack. If you are a winter sports movie and you are not Cool Runnings, why is there Calypso on your soundtrack?
Right.
Why?
There's no sense of, or there's no order to that. It's chaos. It's anarchy. Yes. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Yes, and it is honestly, it's the reason I don't own the movie. Because every time I think about the movie, my first thought is, oh, what an adorable movie. And my second thought is, can't watch it.
Yeah. And there's ways in there. It's funny because you were talking about all the ways that can go wrong, but there's a lot of really good 80s. I'm sorry. A lot of really good 80s synth stuff, like Beverly Hills Cop.
Yes.
And I believe the same composer did Top Gun, actually. And it's goofy, but it works.
Yes.
You know. By the way, while we were talking, you totally made me remember of a terribly inapt score.
Tell me.
Mad Max.
Yes.
All of a sudden, like.
Yeah.
So there's this point, we talked about this in Project Melway, but none of you guys should all, I know you're not cut up on Melway. I don't know what your problem is, but I know that that's true about you. So let me help you out a little bit. This will give you a little teaser. In the original Mad Max, Mel Gibson is like a cop, he's got a wife, and there's this point like he comes home, and either they've already made love, or they're gonna make love, or something happens, but all of a sudden you see him lying in bed, and there's this like really loud, obnoxious saxophone, like 80s saxophone, like and then, oh my God, they cue over to the right, and it's actually his wife in the bedroom playing a saxophone.
It's like something out of a Mel Brooks movie.
Put it in a Naked Gun movie or an airplane movie, and it would have.
Yes, it is. It's straight out of Mel Brooks or National Lampoon, something. Yes,
it was just fascinating.
Absolutely. Just
fascinating. So, anyways, that was an example of someone who was just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. Indeed.
So that's hilarious.
So Josh, I hope that makes you happy, and if not, you don't like a part of the score to Jaws, so I don't really care. Moving on. Also, I hope you had a nice time in Portugal. Moving on. I
hope you got your pocket picked.
Nice. Nice. That too. That's what I mean. I pronounced got your pocket picked wrong.
Right.
Our second question of the day from Alec. Hello, Alec.
Hello, Alec.
Also, not phrased in the form of a question.
Boy, Alec.
I saw...
Are you going to read the whole thing?
No.
Okay.
No. I saw a commercial for The Hangover 3 that said the movie was the conclusion to the funniest comedic trilogy ever. This can't be true. Please convince me this isn't true. Alec, it's good that you've come to us.
I agree. Also, in this situation, it's okay that he didn't ask the question because it's clear that he's in pain.
That's right.
You know, like when someone walks into the emergency room holding one of their hands in the other hand because it's been cut off and they're pulling it, you're not like, say please.
Right. No, you're right. That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or actually, I think this is a more apt example with The Hangover. If someone comes into the emergency room stabbed in the back, that's what it is.
Well played. Okay. So what do you think?
Okay. This is a really, actually, I thought a very difficult question.
Yes.
Because here's the deal. They don't generally make trilogies out of comedies.
That's right.
So this question is very, very difficult. I have two answers for you.
Okay.
One of them is correct, and the other one is more conventionally correct.
Okay.
How do you like that?
Okay.
But it was one of those things where at first I was like, oh God, well, it's not.
Sure.
It's not. And then I was like, wait a minute, what are comedy trilogies? Like,
No, that's true.
Like how many options do we have?
It's certainly like a of major genres, I feel like it has far and away the fewest trilogies.
I haven't seen the third one. I've heard that that it's awful. One reviewer said that he laughed exactly twice the entire film.
Oh.
I really wanted to see it. They filmed a lot of it or a part of it down the street from my house. I want to say this. I thought The Hangover was one of the best comedies of the last 10 years.
Okay.
I saw it twice in the theaters. I laughed so hard at that movie.
Mm-hmm.
It really balanced the violence with the humor, with the lightness and the confusion and all of it in a way that I felt it didn't feel dark. It didn't feel like the second one was just dark and mean. Just like, you never saw these movies, right? You never saw the second one?
I never saw the second one. I was going to. I was on my way to buy my ticket because apparently I was living in 1982 when I didn't buy it off the internet. But
Sure.
But I was, and I got 5 to 10 emails in the span of 12 hours that were that was exactly the same as the first movie, except not nearly as good.
It
was
was
wow.
really difficult to watch. But what was really funny about it, for me, about the experience of it, not the movie was not funny, was that I left the movie being like, what a disappointment. And then I thought to myself, but if they make a trilogy, I'd still want to see it because the chemistry between these three guys and the characters they have developed, I still love so much.
Sure. Yes.
So then I did.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it's working. No, I'm going to do it. I can't even I was like, okay. And then I just, literally at this movie, it just got so many bad reviews. It's like, forget about it. But they weren't just bad reviews. They were like apocalyptic reviews.
Yes.
They were like,
yes.
If you see this, you're going to come out of you're going to come out of the theater and everything will have been stolen off of your car and a meteor will have landed on your dog because that's what you get. That's what it felt like. So I was okay. But all of this is hard to say because based on the strength of the first one, it's in the conversation anyway because that's how much I
Yes.
Okay.
So your answers.
My more obvious answer, which is not my right answer, is actually the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy.
That is yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Beverly Hills Cop 3 is not a good movie.
No.
Beverly Hills Cop 2 is inferior to the first one.
Yes.
But I have seen Beverly Hills Cop 2 about 2 or 3 dozen times.
Sure.
I think it is hilarious.
Yes.
I really think it's really funny.
Yeah.
And it is a much better sequel than Hangover Part 2 is. Partially in the fact that it's a sequel.
Right.
Sorry. That would be that. But my actual answer is, and people wouldn't necessarily automatically think comedy here, but he said, what was the line he used? Comedic trilogy?
Funniest comedic trilogy ever.
Yeah. Toy Story trilogy. The Toy Story trilogy, which won't be a trilogy for much longer. I'm sure they'll make a fourth one.
I love this answer. I love it.
For now, thank you. But for now, Toy Story is, if it wasn't a cartoon, so you'd automatically put it in the children's movie category, you would immediately put it into the comedy category. Not the drama, not the action, not the whatever. It's a comedy. Not only is every single episode of it funny, episode of the series funny. Installment, that's the word. Not only is every installment in the series funny, but it's the only trilogy I can think of. Comedy, drama, action, suspense, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's the only trilogy I can think of where it actually gets better with every installment.
Yeah. Yes.
Toy Story is better than Toy Story 1. Toy Story 3 is better than Toy Story 2.
It's true.
If we can get over the idea that it's a children's movie and actually recognize that the genre in which it belongs is comedy, mm-hmm. Toy Story, even if you can't get over that, it's still a better comedic trilogy than Hangover.
Right. I mean, clearly.
It is one of the best trilogies of all time, and I'm sad that this answer won't last because they will make a Toy Story 4, but I'm not that sad because if it's anywhere as good as the last ones,
right,
great.
Right, it can fall all the way down to the quality of the first Toy Story, and I will be happy as a clam, right?
There's a little bit of me that just says, leave well enough alone.
Sure.
You've made three essentially perfect movies.
Yes.
And then there's another part of me that says, you've made three essentially perfect movies. Who am I to tell you not to make a fourth?
That's right.
These are the warring factions inside my heart.
I have the same factions.
Okay, so what's your thoughts? What you got?
So I took a little bit different tack. Here's a list of trilogies that are funnier than the Hangover movies.
Okay.
And I say this, and I say again, I feel like I can speak intelligently, and my opinion is valid and justified. And I have only seen the first movie, The Hangover, right? That's kind of a lie. I've seen scenes here and there of Hangover Part 2 on television. First off, I love your answer, Toy Story. I'm appropriating it as one of mine.
Okay.
I love your answer, Beverly Hills Cop. That is actually one of mine.
Okay.
First one. The Austin Powers trilogy, and two of them are terrible.
Wow.
Still, people. The last two are so bad. Even if you like the second one, which A, I kind of think you're wrong, and B, fine.
I kind of
right. You kind of.
Yeah.
Anything more than kind of, and you're just flat out wrong.
Right.
The first one, the second and third are so bad, you forget how amazing the first one is. And the first one is every bit the comedy that The Hangover is. It's just from a different era of movie making.
Yes.
And of course, it's a different genre, or a different sort of shade or flavor of the comedy genre. The Naked Gun trilogy, and at least one of them is terrible. Yeah,
Naked Gun 33 and a third is bad, but Naked Gun 1 is amazing. And Naked Gun 2.5 is
good, very good.
Solid.
Yes.
Solid. That's even better. I think that's even better than Beverly Hills Cop. But that's a really good point. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Sure.
I think I forgot it was a trilogy because Naked Gun 33 and a third is so bad.
you want to forget about it, full stop.
You know what it's called? You know what the subtitle for Naked Gun 33 and a third is, right?
I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Final Insult. Which is so aptly named.
Yeah, apropos. Yeah. Nice. The next one, the Evil Dead trilogy, and one of them isn't a comedy.
Right.
Still funnier trilogy.
Yeah.
Than the three Hangover movies taken as a whole.
Yeah.
The Indiana Jones trilogy, and none of them are comedies.
Nice.
Those movies are, with the exception of, there are moments of levity in Temple of Doom, but that is a dark movie.
So now we're getting into a territory, Andy, where I agree with you that it's a funnier trilogy.
Yep.
But it isn't a comedic trilogy. But I know where you're going with this, and I respect it. So continue.
Well, the only one I have left is my actual, full-on, no reservations answer to this question.
Wow, none of those answer?
Those are sort of because, as you say, those aren't technically
right. Those are honorable mentions.
Yes. My actual answer, the Back to the Future trilogy.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Back to the Future is a comedy.
Yes.
That's the answer. That's a better answer than Toy Story. I think they stand shoulder to shoulder in quality with the Back to the Future movies, but because I have to qualify the genre and be like, look, you have to count these as comedies, and I have to tell people that. Back to the Future's, that's a fantastic answer. That's all of the things you have said. At some point, I thought you were going to say the Godfather trilogy because Even in its darkest moments, there are moments of levity.
Sure, right.
But no, Hangover, no. And as Andy said, Alec, I'm glad you came to us.
Yeah, it's yes, indeed.
You win this round, Andy Roth. That is good. That is good. You remembered Naked Gun, and you remembered Back to the Future. Back to the Future is a phenomenal trilogy,
right? There really isn't a weak link.
Kind of an underrated trilogy because we've talked about this before, but the sequel got a lot of weird flack, and then the third one gets treated sort of lightly.
And it's wonderful.
But watch them all in a row, and you're like, this is just stuff.
Yes, totally agreed. So Josh, Alec, hopefully we have answered your question. Well, Alec, again, Josh, we don't care about you. Hopefully we have answered your questions to your satisfaction. All of you Second Breakfast Nation participants, we hope you have enjoyed our mailbag and this week of Second Breakfast Podcast. It's been a big week.
It's been an interesting week. We've been through a lot.
Yes. Roller coaster ride, ups and downs.
Yep.
Hither and yon. That doesn't really make sense, but I love that phrase.
I also like it because I yawned a lot during this podcast.
Hither and yawn. I like
Hello.
Heyo. And so that'll bring us to the end of our podcast and the end of our week. Have a great weekend, everybody. We're Second Breakfast. I'm Andy Roth, and that's Phil Duvall. See you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The most